Is it letting you?
Well,
Yep.
yeah. Oh,
Oh, okay. So it must
why?
have switched you over because I thought something popped up and
Oh,
said
yeah.
that
Yeah,
Karen.
she did say that I was the host, and I thought I saw you. I saw you biting your lip, and I thought, oh well, I guess that was for everybody. And
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully it will go to somewhere important.
so
If it's
so
recording to the cloud, I don't know. Maybe on your Zoom cloud account. I don't know. Okay.
Floating in
Well,
cloud.
we'll try and figure it out afterwards. But maybe she'll be able to jump back in and take it back over again. I don't know.
cool.
But you
Is
know
she
what?
okay?
She said her computer just like randomly restarted. So
Oh,
who knows?
yeah. Please don't say it like we lost her. Say like,
No, we lost her off of the
she took a
thing.
break.
She fell off the Zoom. Not like lost to the ether.
Zoomed out.
We laugh now, knowing that that's not a problem.
Right. uh, what's interesting about this topic though is that for me when it says envision your dream and write it all down. I've never really found that to be what has happened because I kind of had to look back on my life a little bit and see the different things that I have achieved and then examine those a little bit and be like, okay, did I write it down? Did I envision it? Did I whatever? And for me, it was more of I'll give you an example. When I was in my pet grooming business and I was like, I want to be in business for myself versus just working for someone else. And, even though I kind of had an idea in my head of what it was ultimately that I wanted to achieve, I didn't like write it down in a big vision thing or create a vision board or anything like that. I just decided, okay, this is what I want in my own mind. And I focused on it of, I just want this. I want to be considered one of the top stylists in town. I want a lot of people to come to me and think that I'm so awesome, those kinds of things. I just wanted to embody um, that aspect of what I wanted. And as I did that, then ideas would pop into my head of what I should do. And so then when I would write things down, it was my to-do list. It was the ideas that would pop into my head that would start pointing me in the direction of, oh, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, then I probably need to research what it would take to lease space. And I would need to, find out, come up with a game plan for financials and that kind of thing. And what do I want my place to look like? How do I want to run it? All these different things. And so then I would come up with like to-do lists, if you will, and start working towards those actions to achieve that ultimate goal that I had that was in my mind. So I had it in my mind, but I didn't necessarily write it all down. And I didn't necessarily write it in the computer either, Karen. But I did write stuff down. At the same time. And some stuff I did create in the computer. It was like and things didn't come together how I thought that they would either. Unlike you, Sandy, where, I mean, you said you created an idea and then it came together almost exactly how you envisioned. For me, it was more of an idea of how I wanted things to be, and all this little stuff happened that helped me to get to this goal, but it was not how I thought that it would happen. And actually, a lot of really random things just kind of synchronized together to create that, to make it happen. And so it's interesting how I think it can be, it can be multiple, it can be different for everyone, I guess you could say. Because anytime that I have tried to go after a specific thing that I was working towards, it was always an idea in my head of what I wanted to achieve, and then I just started making my to-do list. I got to do this, this, and this, and then I have to do that, and then as I go along, it more things come up that I decide that I need to do, and then I do them, and then it just ends up happening, and it usually is even better than I thought it would be, because it could be little things like when we were when we were first together and we had kids and we're like, oh, I really want to be in a house. We want to buy a house and it'd be really awesome to have a house of our own. I didn't just make up a vision board or write out a vision of having a house. I just decided that's what I wanted. So then I would make my to-do list and I'd start researching mortgages and researching where my credit had to be and researching how much money I had to have and all these kinds of things. And then random things would come together and then we ended up in a house. I think it's different for everyone. So, but Catherine, so Karen ended up being able to hit the record button to continue the recording, and she hit record to cloud. So I don't know where the recording will be, whether it'll be connected to her cloud account or
Yep, it'll
Zoom.
be on her cloud account.
Okay. So I guess we'll have to get together, figure out how to get it from her cloud account.
I have no idea.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Okay. Somebody else jump out and talk.
I'll jump out real quick. I think I have just in regards to what you were saying there, Samantha. It sounds like it was similar to what you were saying was similar to my example, I think like a week or two ago, where as long as we keep the end goal in mind, then we can still stay consistent, even if the things, the tact that we have to take might change, or it might draw us to one side or another. But we're always, if we're clear on the end goal with what we really want in the end, then we can still stay consistently moving towards that. And it's kind of like that analogy of the rocket or a missile that it's always got this final destination in sight, but it's making thousands of course corrections throughout its flight. And if we're able to keep our end goal in mind, but be able to also course correct along the way, like you were pointing out, because you didn't know exactly how things would fall into place, and other things that maybe you didn't, and this is quite common, things that you might not have thought of pop up, that might enhance your experience or might be an obstacle that you have to get around. And if we're able to course correct around those, but still having our end goal in mind, I think that's huge. That's very huge. So being clear, so in envisioning it and in writing down the things that we want, you remember that really one of the most important things is to be getting clear on that end goal. Excuse me, but that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think that was an important point too, is like, yeah, we can have the vision and write it down, but what you were showing, Samantha, is that there needs to be action too. You can't just write this down and la la la, it's going to fall into my hands. There's a lot of action steps to take. So maybe you didn't have to write it down, but you had that vision in there daily, just constantly with you. So you were always going towards it. Maybe some people need to write it down to remember, because people give up easily, like, oh, forget it, it's too much work or too difficult, it's not going to happen. But it sounds like you had that firmly in there. And I've had cases like that too, where I haven't written something down, but I create something in my life from just having that in my mind, like, this is what I want, I'm going for it. And and it's always like things happen in more amazing ways than we could have even thought in the first place. I mean, yeah, things fell in place for my move, but there were also things that were like, wow, this is crazy, like how things changed and went in different directions, but they were amazing, like things I could have never have thought of in my envisioning or my writing down of it. So either route someone takes with writing it down, or just having that strong desire in there and taking action towards it, then it just, either way, whatever works. Yeah, like you said, like it's maybe different for everybody, like, but as long as you have that, I think, that vision, and you're sticking with it and don't give up on it, then it'll happen.
Yeah, and our confidence in what our belief, I should say, and acquiring it and actually doing it is so, I find it's very important. It's interesting to me when I talk to people who have the great ideas and they have great goals that they want to achieve, but then I notice that they have other things that that are really just personal decisions that are going to cause an issue with them getting that great goal or idea up and going. So sometimes I think we also have to be mindful of, have we made some certain things off limits that are going to keep us from achieving the ultimate goal that we want. If it's like as an example, someone who it only wants to do a certain job, but they want so much more out of their life, but the only way they want all this other stuff is by doing the same thing that they've been doing. They're not willing to change. They're happy with doing the work that they've been doing, but they just want different results. Well, that just doesn't. Those two things won't mesh. It doesn't work. You have to be able to change, and if you want changes in your life, I guess is the easiest way to put it. So.
I was kind of looking forward in this chapter because I think we've pretty much covered all the different aspects of what he's talking about, because he says to, step one, write it down, but then he says step two, look at it every day. And step three is start with a plan. And, and I think that we've mostly kind of covered on all those things because, we've all talked about if, when we're working towards something, we're thinking about it every day. And, he refers to our subconscious mind. And, of course, we've studied how having a goal and then thinking about it every day in numerous books, but particularly the new Psycho-Cybernetics from Maxwell Maltz, and how he talks about that as just creating that vision in your mind and then thinking about it daily, and then that gets your subconscious mind working for you. And he says, let's see, well, I was going to read something on here.
Yeah, and that's a huge point. That's a huge point right there. Subconscious can work wonders for you once you get it working for you. And,
Right. He says in here, when you clearly and tangibly set your goals, life has a way of rearranging itself, setting in motion a series of events that you would have never predicted or planned to get you there. And, and I think we've all kind of addressed that in a way, because when we decide that we want to make something happen, and we may not know exactly how to make it happen, but we just start doing things that help point us in a direction, and then you figure out as you go. And he talks about that in the step 3 part of, he says, start with the plan. It's not the plan that's going to get you there. It's the plan is what's going to get you started on the path to creating that thing in your life. And then he goes on to tell this story of how he grew a big, huge sales force in Germany, and the series of events that make that all come together are so completely random. He's like, I could not have made that plan up if I'd have tried to. It was just all these random coincidental things that happened. But he started with one plan, that he wanted to make a big sales force in Germany or in Europe, and it just happened to end up being in Germany. But it's like he would have never even started it if he hadn't had if he hadn't just set something in motion and started making some kind of actions towards achieving that. And and I think that some of these books that are out there have given people the wrong impression about making dreams come true in your life, of that you just can sit there and do nothing and just envision it. And yeah, exactly, Sandy, and it doesn't work that way. Although I will tell you, there is little bits of that does happen, which is really weird, because a couple years ago, I was working on feeling it real. When we talk about Neville Goddard, he talks a lot about feeling it real and envisioning and then experiencing it in your mind as if it's real. And I was working on, I had this dream house in my mind that I really wanted to make happen, and I thought, okay, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to envision it. And a part of the feel it real process, he talks about, I can't remember which step it was, but he was talking about imagining a memory from your future of, and like connecting with a person in your future. Well, in my mind, I was envisioning myself in this house out on my little gazebo by the river, and I was hanging out with my grandchildren, reading them books and talking to them and enjoying being with them. Well, I didn't manifest my house, but I sure manifest some grandchildren. So, like, be careful what you wish for, right? But anyway, it's been interesting to see how that came together. And obviously, I didn't do anything to make that happen other than think about it. So, I don't know. But that was just a thought I had. But anyway.
That's power. That's power. Wow, that's wonderful. It's yeah, the cultivating your belief, cultivating and really controlling your mindset. That's what this is all about. Is your mindset mastery, right? And getting your and getting yourself in alignment with what you want. It's I don't the day in, day out, by the end of the week, I just feel like I'm pulled in so many different directions. I sort of have to spend the weekend pulling myself back and getting back in alignment, so that's what's great about being part of this group and being reminded, because you guys have such great points and remind me of so many powerful things I can do to realign myself and even enhance my week the following week. So yeah, and I mean, I can tell you, all these things have helped me out so much. And you might ask, well, how? It's propelled me in so many different ways. But one main way is I've been able to command more of an hourly wage. I've been able to command what I do and where I do it. And it's also given me a freedom to, because once you're able to realize the process and realize it happening in your life, you start to realize, like what Sandy said, you can do that again and again. And so it gives you some independence, because you don't have to think as though you always have to depend on someone else to give you a hand up or a hand out in order to get anywhere. You can cultivate it within you and really have the driving force be yourself, and you will know how to cultivate that belief to help you along the way and keep your focus. And so once you've done it, I'm just saying that there's an added benefit, beyond just reaching your goal, is that you can do it again with other goals. So that's what I found very, very powerful as well. So yeah, again, great to be here. And yeah, if you're watching this in the future, if you're watching this, and you would like to join us on Saturdays, please come on out. It's open to everybody. And for those that couldn't show up today, we'll miss you guys, Christina and Dan and Chris and everybody. And so I hope you're here next week.
Yep, we are at the top of the hour. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we wrap up for today?
Yeah, I was thinking too, I forget, one of you said something that stirred my mind, about sharing with others too, like sharing your vision with others, I find helps it. You sort of have to do it. You know? Like you have to stick with it once you're like sharing it with the world. It's funny, when I was coming to move, I had mentioned it to friends over maybe 2 or 3 years, like, next year I'm out of here. Next winter I won't be here. And it got to the point when I actually said, you know what, I'm doing it this year, like the 3rd year. That they were like not believing me, like, yeah, you said that the past couple of years. I'm like, no, this time's for real. And once they started seeing me really taking the actions, they're like, no. So, but I'm finding that now, like, because I have this dream to go to Europe this year, and this is something that I've been saying the past couple of years, but this year I'm like, okay, do it now. Stop saying it and just go. Like, maybe 1 to 2 months, just travel around Europe. So, and I was sort of keeping it to myself for a while, but I started sharing it with people, because I know that when I share it with people, that's when I'm really like, okay, now I have to really make it happen, because they're going to think I'm like not sticking to my own word if I don't actually do it. But when you share, two people have resources. Like one of my friends, she is moving to Europe in a few months all of a sudden, and she's looking for remote jobs. And so she's sending me all these sites of jobs that you can do while you're traveling, because I'm like, well, I'm a little concerned about leaving my practice for a couple months and making some money. So she's like, check out these remote jobs. You can do them part-time while you travel. And just little things, like when you share, people have little input of like, well, check out this city, or I have a good deal on flights. Check this out. So I think sharing is important, because people are, sharing with people is what brings stuff to us. If we just keep it to ourselves, we're sitting here like, I'm crazy. Like, okay, how am I going to do this? What do I do? La, 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 la. But the sharing, I think, helps speed it up too, because our word is out, like it's out in the universe, and things just start to get cranking once it's shared with people. So I just wanted to add that point. Sharing your vision with others, I think, is a huge part of helping things move forward faster and get the wheels turning. Thanks, everyone. It was good to see you all, and great conversation today. Lots of good insights. Thank you.
And that's what I'd like to comment on. There's been a couple of times during the course of this today that I've thought, people tuning in, and I guess they're probably not tuning in right now, tuning in the future. We can think of memories of so-and-so in the future, are probably saying to themselves, man, I would never have picked that up anywhere else. There was a time when Jason was talking, and I hope we were recording then, that he was throwing out some things, and I thought, the people are really going to realize that this is the benefit of having a mastermind group, even if you are not a part of it, even if you just listen to it. But of course, it really does amp things up if you are a part of it. You do your own sharing, like Sandy says, get your word out there to the universe. And Samantha, I really appreciated your segue off to how things are different for all of us, because I've not ever been really good about this aspect of writing down the goal. It's something that I just don't even feel really good about. But when it comes to the part of creating statements, like I was talking about, writing statements, speaking statements, there's a man, I wish I could think of his name, and maybe I can, and maybe he just popped into my head. I was listening to him. They say he's the I don't think they say he's the strongest man, but there's some appellation, where he's the something man on earth. I mean, he grew up like 20 minutes from a KKK. He was a black fellow. He was called nigger several times a day, every day of his growing up, and by this KKK meeting place. And the things that he's done, he's gone through the Navy SEALs, the Air Force, blah blah, and the Army something. Those high end, like what they do is they prepare you for several days where you don't have any sleep, you don't have any food, you just run, you just go, and then you begin the program. I mean, it's like, you know, it's kind of like being a birther. You know, you have 9 months where you do all the stuff, and then you have the baby. And by then it's like, what the hell? Who cares? I've done all the other stuff. So, but you know, we just all approach things differently in life. We can get there by feeling like we know what we want to have happen, allowing ourselves to feel it happening. I think that's a really key aspect. And so everybody join us, because it's just a wonderful thing for us to be together like we are. We all love each other, so be lovable when you come on. All righty, have a good week.
I just want to encourage everyone to remember that, like, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, sometimes has a different picture of our goal than we do. Like, sometimes we think we haven't met our goal because it hasn't. Like, I'll just give you an example right now. On my vision board in my head, I don't have a physical one made, although I do have my mind movie that I watch. But in my mind vision board, I see mountains and then horses between me and the mountains, and I just had, and it's like I'm looking out of the back of my cabin sort of thing, and you know, I have it all in my mind. Well, right now I rent a room in a house, but if I open my front window here, my view is a field with horses and mountains behind it. See, so I did accomplish my goal already. Like, now I need to adjust my goals a little bit, you know, and it's moving the right direction and stuff. But sometimes you set your goal and then you like accomplish it, but you don't even realize you accomplish it. And I think you have to watch for those little periods, because it can put you into a bit of a stagnation, you know. I think visualization is incredibly powerful. I don't quite understand why. Absolutely agree with, you know, all the, like he said in the book, there's no way he could have envisioned all of that, all those little twists and turns and synchronicities, whatever. Like, I don't know what you call them. I don't know why they happen. I don't know why we have to like say things out loud or write them down or present them to the universe. I absolutely agree. Going back to integrity, you know, that's what keeps me integrity too, Sandy, is my belief that, you know, there's more out there that I'm committing to, not just to myself or even the people that I might say it in their presence, you know, but I'm committing it to the universe that I'm doing it. And I don't know if we're just like cyborgs and we don't know it, and so we're actually programming ourselves every day, and that's why it's important to say these things or write them, or like, I don't know, guys, it's really weird. But I love you. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.
That's wonderful. I was thinking about thinking about when I was having, like envisioning things in my dream house, and it's funny because different things that I was thinking about in those times, those things have happened. Like what you said, Catherine, it's these things that have happened, but yet the actual physical manifestation of that house hasn't happened yet. It's funny though, how I don't know, maybe that's just my place that I go in my mind where I create things that'll happen, and it just, that, I don't know, that physical space, something different, I don't know. But it's interesting how it's just interesting how our minds work and how the universe works, and it all kind of ties together in different ways, and and we just don't even know. We don't even realize. But we definitely put things in motion. There is no doubt in my mind about that. And so we definitely have to pay attention to what it is that we're focusing on, because I think that's where our lives go, and that's the direction that they end up going, and what happens around all of that's what our focus is on. So anyway, guys, we are well past the top of the hour. It's been wonderful talking to each of you and listening to everything that you have to say, and all of your perspectives. I mean, that's what we love about this. So for those of you who are watching this as a recording, there's some links below this video that can get you over to our Facebook group, that can also get you to previous recordings of some of the things that we've talked about in the past. And then, of course, subscribe to our channel, like us on YouTube, jump in our Facebook group, and we'll see you next time on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now. Catherine, you'll have to hit the end button, the stop recording button. Or Karen.